Welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and I made a video last week talking about how I might stop buying new Magic cards. And I'm still a little on the fence about it. I haven't decided if I will. I mean, obviously, I can't say for sure if I'll completely stop buying forever, but likely I'm not going to buy any cards from Modern Horizons 3. You can go check out that video to see my reasons why. The reception on that video was mostly positive. I would say 80% of the comments, people were agreeing with me. I can't say I'm that surprised by that. There was a lot of people, I'll just say, that said the answer is proxying. This is why I proxy. If that was your response, then I think you probably did not get the main point of the video. It wasn't about money. I don't even know if I mentioned money in that video once, maybe a little bit, but the whole point was not saving money, although obviously that is a big advantage to not buying cards. Main point of the video was the rotating commander, right? Basically, they're turning commander into a rotating format. I guess that was a big part of it, but also, constantly changing your decks. I don't know if that's a good thing either, right? There was a couple comments that I have to definitely tackle, and also I want to, in this video, tackle what is the solution to this issue. So I had one interesting comment. A guy said, I have been buying way less cards in the last few months. Had a lot of people telling me they buy a lot less cards recently. Now I feel out of touch with the game and I am behind. I don't know how serious this person is being. You never can tell with comments, right? But I think they're being serious here, hence the all caps. Don't stop buying cards unless you are accepting the fact that you might quit Magic sooner rather than later. And this is an interesting comment. The reason I grabbed it, Commander, again, this is the problem. Commander was never supposed to be that kind of a format where you need to buy the cards or else you feel left behind. I got a buddy who plays Commander and he hasn't bought new Magic cards in forever. Whenever we play Commander, he grabs his box out of his closet and dusts it off because he hardly ever uses it, pulls out his Commander decks that I don't think he's put new cards in there in 10 years, and plays and no problem. And that's what you should be able to very easily do in the Commander format, is have your decks sitting in a box in your closet and not touch them for years and be very easily able to bring them out and play. I mean, honestly, you should be able to do that with almost every format, more so the non-competitive ones. And of course, Commander's not supposed to be a competitive format, right? If you're not playing in tournaments, buying new cards should not be necessary. Another comment, which I will tackle in this video. This is literally the dumbest take ever, referring to my video, obviously. I mean, I expected a few of these, of course, there always is. Of course, power creep is going to happen. Of course it is. Okay? What do you want them to do? Stop making new cards? They have to make money. And they're not going to make anything when you buy cards that are old. So, obviously, this individual hasn't been playing Magic for very long because power creep wasn't really a thing for a long time. This comment is it's silly, really silly. I'm going to try to be nice here. They do make one good point here, which I will get to and is the point of this video. But, of course, this comment is ridiculous, and how I replied to this person is, if that was the case, then that would be the only cards that people buy. If you have to print power creep cards in order to get people to buy cards, then that would mean the only cards that people would buy would be the power creep cards, right? I mean, all you have to do is look through the history of Magic. Alpha and Beta had some of the most, to this day, had some of those powerful cards ever printed. But yet people were still buying Homelands and Fallen Empires and Legends and all these very not power corrupted, like in fact, way more powered down sets that had a lot of really bad cards and obviously weren't as powerful as the cards that came before them. So that statement makes no sense. And again, the silliest part about it is that the only reason you buy cards is because they're better versions of the ones that came up before. Really? I mean, even if you only play competitive Magic, that still is not the case. I'll give Avon Interrupter, I remember the name this time. Avon Interrupter was my favorite card that came out in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I bought a few copies of that card. Why? Because it's a power crept version of a, Lapse of Certainty? What? That's not a power crept card. It's just a unique, interesting card that came out in that set that we've never seen anything like that before. We never seen a white creature with flash that sort of counters a spell, not really. It's got the plot mechanic, which is obviously from that set. It's a very unique, interesting card. That's why I bought it, because I've never seen a card like that before. That's why I got that card, not because it's a power crept version of anything. So the answer to, How do they make money? Well, you make interesting, unique cards that Magic players want to buy. That's what they did throughout most of the history of the game. But you're right, they do have to make money, absolutely. And in this video, what this video is really about is talking about what can they do to fix this issue, right? Again, if they want to specifically bring someone like me back into the fold and have me buying cards again, what do they got to do to get me back? Not that they particularly care. And again, are any Wizard of the Coast employees going to be watching this video? Probably not, but nevertheless, these are my suggestions for them. Number one, ask the Magic community. This is a big one. Get input from the Magic community, get input from even content creators, maybe not specifically me, but getting feedback from the Magic community is really, really important. And in particular, getting feedback about actually designing cards. Waste Not. Everyone, I'm sure, is very familiar with this card. It's a fantastic Magic card. Guess what? As it says on the bottom, designed by the Magic community. This is a fantastic, it's a commander staple for sure in any discard theme you're going to want to play it. It's a fantastic Magic card all around. Really well-designed Magic card. And guess what? Designed by the Magic community. The Magic community actually knows what they're doing here. And a lot of people, I'm sure, are aware of the custom cards made by the Magic community. Oh, man, there's some great ones out there. Again, a lot of people will say, oh, maybe they're running out of ideas and stuff like that. I assure you, there's a lot of really fantastic ideas, stuff that I've seen that other people have made that are really interesting cards. The invitational cards are another great example of this. Bob, right? Everybody knows Bob, Dark Confidant. Why is it called Bob? It's called Bob because the guy who designed the card, his name is Bob. I think Bob Mayer, right? The likeness on the card. Again, people might not even know this. This is obviously the original from Ravnica. That face is the face of the guy who designed the card. An invitational used to be a thing they do. I don't know if they do it anymore. But you would essentially, there was a tournament and whoever won the tournament would get to design their own card. So obviously Dark Confidant is a fantastic card played in many different formats, designed by a Magic player, right? Not someone who actually works at Wizards of the Coast. Snapcaster Mage, another fantastic one. Sylvan Safekeeper, lots of these used in other formats and also Commander as well. Of course, Solemn Simulacrum, one of my all-time favorites. This was not a Commander card, guys. Obviously, it came out in Mirrodin, but is a fantastic Commander staple, has been forever, because it just happens to work great in the Commander format because it was designed by a Magic player and he made, obviously when he designed this card, his thought process was he wanted a colorless card that he could put in any of his decks that has abilities that you want in any deck. You want ramp in every deck and you want draw in every deck. And again, as it turns out, every Commander deck wants that as well. So his plan here, I think, was to make a card that wasn't entirely specific, that fit in a lot of decks. Most of the invitational cards, not all, but most of them are just fantastic Magic cards. Is that a coincidence? They were made by Magic players? Probably not. I don't know if they do this anymore. I know Fairy Mastermind, which came out last year, right, says on it, this guy's name, which I won't bother trying to tackle, World Champion. So maybe now they're doing this with the World Champions. The people who win the World Championships get to make cards now. Some people might wonder why this fairy is wearing glasses. That's why, again, because it looks like the guy who designed the card, right? Magic players design really, really great cards. So I think that's one of the things that Wizards of the Coast should do more is actually listen to the Magic community. The other thing that they need to do, and this is a really easy one, is just do what you were doing before, right? I think you were doing just fine before. And again, even if we're just talking about the Commander format, when you look at some of those old Commander cards from the first Commander sets, again, they used to just come out with a Commander set every year that had very focused Commander cards, obviously, for the Commander format. And then every other set, they just went back to doing Standard or Modern or whatever. That was enough. And in those sets had a lot of great cards. That is how you do it. You don't have to just make power crept versions of things and auto includes and staples. You just make really interesting cards that work really well in the Commander format. There's a bunch of those. You can go back and look at them. Whole bunch of neat cards from like C11, C13, C14 and 15. And, I guess they did one every year after that. C16 was a fantastic Commander set. Manifold Insights. There's a great Commander card that a lot of people have probably forgotten about. 2 and a blue sorcery. Reveal the top 10 cards of your library, starting with the next opponent in turn order. Each opponent chooses a different non-land card from among them. put the chosen card into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So it's sort of like a fact or fiction kind of effect. You end up getting 3 cards in hand if you have 3 opponents, which you typically do. 3 mana, 3 cards is pretty good. Of course, your opponents get to choose, which, might be a bad thing, but also might be a good thing because you can play the politics angle. This is a great commander card, right? Doesn't really see much play anymore because, of course, there's just better options. But that's what I'm talking about. We already have the ability here for Wizards of the Coast to make really interesting commander cards. They were doing it in commander sets all the time before. Now they're doing a lot less. And I think they just need to get back to what they were doing before. Let's look at Oblation, right? 2 and a white instant. The owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it into their library, then draws 2 cards. And this is a card I just talked about in my Commander Staples I Don't See Anymore video. This is a great commander card. And I had a lot of people comment on that video. Yes, there are probably better, just straight up, if you just want a better, more efficient removal option in white, there's probably better options than this, but there's still a lot of people that play this card because it is a fun, interesting card. It is not just straight up removal. It does a lot more. It shuffles it into their library. The owner of target non-land permanent, which of course the wording is really important there. It can be a political card because you're letting your opponent draw 2 cards, but also you can use it on yourself to draw 2 cards, and also you can use it on yourself by donating something to your opponent and then shuffling your thing into your library and then drawing 2 cards. There's a lot of neat ways to use this card. It's a fantastically designed card. And as a lot of people will point out, this is not actually a commander card. Again, a lot of new players might see this and think it was printed in C21 or something like that. No, it's originally from Onslaught, long before Commander. I mean, maybe Commander wasn't a thing, but it certainly wasn't popular enough for Wizards of the Coast to be printing cards specifically for the Commander format, even though, again, just like with Solemn Simulacrum was not specifically designed for the Commander format, is a fantastic commander card that people will be playing forever, even if there are better versions, because it is such a unique, interesting card. That's why people go out and buy cards, right? Because they're unique and interesting, and they do this thing that we maybe never seen before. And there's a lot of versatility here, right? There's a lot of different ways to use this card. So people will continue to use this card, even though it is a really old card, and there is a lot of better options for removal, and it's not actually meant to be a commander card. People will continue to use it because it is such a fantastically designed Magic card. And the third thing that Wizards of the Coast needs to do, that, again, this is a really obvious one that everyone has been saying. The Commander community has been screaming this for years now. Stop doing stuff for the Commander format. Just ignore the Commander format. Pretend it doesn't exist for a while, maybe. I mean, maybe don't pretend it doesn't exist. Again, you could very easily go back to just, we do 1 Commander set a year, and that's it. We don't need Commander staples in every single set. We certainly don't need Commander precons in every, like that was ridiculous. Whoever came up with that idea, terrible idea. Doing Commander precons for every single set, absolutely ridiculous and completely unnecessary. We don't need that anymore. We also don't need 40 legendary creatures in every set anymore either. Ridiculous. Obviously, that's just for the Commander format, right? So another thing that I think would fix this situation, again, some people might disagree that there is anything that needs to be fixed. Some people think that it's just fine. They love 40 legendary creatures in every single set. They love Commander precons in every single set, and the Commander state, oh yeah, okay. Well, this is my opinion. I gave my opinion on what I think they're doing wrong, and a lot of people agree with me, and I'm trying to come up with the solutions to this issue, and one of the solutions is just stop printing cards for the Commander format. And you could completely ignore the Commander format for the next couple of years, I think. Not even printing Commander sets, I would be fine with. And just every time a set comes out, you comb through, you look for the interesting cards that might happen to fit with what you're doing. That's the kind of stuff that I really like to do. I think it would be perfectly fine. Obviously, we have so many Commander staples now in the format already that we could definitely take a break for a few years and we would be just fine. So stop printing cards for the Commander format all around, I think, is a really easy solution here that would fix a lot of these problems. So there you go. Obviously, pretty important video that I had a feeling that I was going to have to do another follow-up on that. And I thought a good way to do it was, well, what is, rather than just, I'm sitting here complaining all the time, right? People hate when I complain. Rather than doing that, what's the solution? I think I came up with 3 things that certainly Magic the Gathering or Wizards of the Coast could do to remedy the situation at least a little bit, right? And again, big ones is stop focusing so much on the Commander format. Certainly that is not needed. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Most people would agree with that. Listen to the community more. That's always an important one in every format, not just with Commander. In every format, you got to listen to the community, obviously. I mean, typically, almost always cards when they get banned is because of the community complaining about this card needs to get banned, right? That's almost always the case, but on a creative aspect as well. Listening to the Magic community on a creative aspect and just taking some of those ideas. Again, the borderless cards, remember that, right? People started doing that with proxies. That was a thing the Magic community came up with. People were making proxies that were borderless and stuff like that and full art and all that. And then Wizards of the Coast started doing that with Magic cards because everyone seemed to like it, right? So a lot of these ideas do get incorporated in the game from the community. You know, there's a lot of smart people out there, a lot of creative people out there too, playing the game of Magic, and taking some of their ideas is not exactly the worst thing. But also the easiest one of all is just do what you were doing before. You guys were making lots of great Commander staples before, really interesting ones that weren't necessarily auto includes in every deck. They're just good cards in the Commander format. So you should do more to that as well. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think. That is it for today though, and thanks for tuning in.